Michael Jordan, the legendary icon of basketball. The figure who elevated the NBA into a global temple of excellence and carved Air Jordan into the core of American culture. The greatest basketball player who ever lived is sitting in his mansion right now. And what he's thinking about might surprise you more than any dunk he ever threw down. Michael Jordan is 62 years old today, and his story isn't just about flying through the air or winning championships. It's about a man who lost everything that mattered, rebuilt himself from broken pieces, and learned that real strength has nothing to do with how high you jump. Everyone knows the name Michael Jordan. 6 championships with the Chicago Bulls, 5 MVP awards, the Air Jordan shoes that changed sneakers forever, the tongue out, the shaved head, the number 23 that became more famous than most people's actual names. But the real Michael Jordan story, the one that actually matters, starts in a place nobody wants to talk about. It starts with rejection. It starts with tears. It starts with a 15-year-old kid staring at a piece of paper on a wall, looking for his name, and not finding it anywhere. February 17, 1963. Wilmington, North Carolina. A small house packed with 5 kids, not much money, and to parents working every hour they could find just to keep the lights on. His father James worked as a mechanic and spent long days in factories. His mother Dolores worked at a bank and made sure her children knew how to read, how to speak properly, how to carry themselves with respect even when they had holes in their shoes. There was no fancy anything in that house. Just rules, expectations, and the constant reminder that if you wanted something in this world, you had to fight for it yourself. Michael wasn't the biggest kid. He wasn't the fastest. He definitely wasn't the one everyone thought would become anything special. His older brother Larry beat him at everything. Every game in the backyard, every race down the driveway, every single thing they competed at, Larry won. And Michael hated it, but more than that, he loved his brother. He looked up to him. He thought Larry was better than him at everything, and that feeling of being second best in his own home burned inside him like a fire that never went out. His father saw that fire and pushed him harder than the other kids. More chores, tougher rules, higher standards. But his father also sat with him in the backyard when the sun went down, teaching him how to hold a baseball bat, how to trust his own instincts, how to believe he could be more than what other people saw. Then came 1978. Michael was 15 years old and wanted to play varsity basketball at his high school. He went to tryouts. He gave everything he had. Then the day came when they posted the list of players who made the team. Michael walked down that crowded hallway at Laney High School and stood in front of that paper, scanning every single name. Once, twice, 3 times. His name wasn't there. They had cut him. They told him he wasn't good enough. And right there in that hallway, surrounded by other kids laughing and celebrating, Michael's world collapsed. He walked home that day barely able to breathe. When he got to his room, he shut the door and cried. Years later, when he was already famous, he admitted it out loud. When I got cut, I went home and cried. That night his father came into his room, sat down beside him, and told him something that would change everything. He said that every great person rises from rejection. Every strong person is built from moments like this. And in that small bedroom, with tears still on his face, Michael picked up a basketball and started bouncing it on the floor. Over and over, the sound echoed through the house like a heartbeat, like a promise. That ball hitting the floor again and again was Michael Jordan telling himself that the world would remember his name one day. What happened next was pure transformation. He woke up before the sun came up. He practiced until his hands bled. He shot baskets until he couldn't lift his arms anymore. He ran until his legs shook. He did this every single day while other kids slept, while other kids watched television, while other kids gave up. Rejection became his fuel. Pain became his teacher. And slowly, month by month, year by year, he got better. He got taller. He got stronger. He got so good that college scouts started showing up to watch him play. And in 1981, the University of North Carolina offered him a scholarship. Chapel Hill felt like another planet. The campus was huge. The gyms were intimidating. The other players were bigger, faster, more experienced. Michael felt small again. He felt like that 15-year-old kid staring at a list without his name on it. At night in his dorm room, far from home, the fear came back. The doubt crept in. And when it got too heavy to carry alone, he called his father. Every time, and every time, his father's voice on the other end of that phone reminded him to breathe, to fight, to trust himself. Coach Dean Smith ran practices like a military drill. Everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be precise. Michael wanted to explode, to show everyone what he could do. But Smith made him slow down, learn the system, wait for his moment. There were days Michael walked out of practice feeling invisible all over again. But he kept working, he kept pushing, and then came March 29, 1982. The NCAA championship game against Georgetown. Final seconds on the clock. Score tied. The ball came to Michael, a freshman who wasn't supposed to be the hero. Time slowed down. The crowd went silent. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. He jumped, he shot. The ball floated through the air like it was moving in slow motion. Swish! North Carolina won the championship. And Michael Jordan, the kid who got cut from his high school team, had just hit the biggest shot in college basketball. Everything changed after that. Scouts chased him. Reporters wanted to talk to him. In 1984, the Chicago Bulls picked him 3rd overall in the NBA draft and gave him a 7-year contract worth $6 million. It sounds like a lot, but Michael wasn't thinking about money. He was thinking about his father sitting in the stands, watching him play. Finally seeing his son become everything they had talked about in that backyard all those years ago. The early years in Chicago were brutal. The team wasn't very good. They lost more than they won. But Michael kept working. He trained harder than anyone else. He stayed late after practice shooting baskets in an empty gym. He studied game film until the sun came up. He pushed his body past every limit. And slowly, the Bulls got better. By 1991, Michael was 28 years old and ready to explode. That year, they made it to the NBA Finals against Magic Johnson and the Lakers. Chicago hadn't won a championship in forever. The pressure was crushing, but Michael didn't crack. He dominated every game. He moved like he was flying. And when the final buzzer sounded, the Bulls were champions. Michael had finally done it. But winning once wasn't enough. He wanted more. In 1992 they won again. In 1993 they won again. 3 championships in 3 years. Something almost nobody had ever done before. The Air Jordan sneakers that Nike released were selling faster than they could make them. Kids all over the world wanted to be like Mike. He was everywhere. Commercials, magazines, billboards. He was the most famous athlete on the planet. And through it all, his father was there, sitting in the stands, recording games with his camcorder, smiling, proud. Michael's success felt complete because his father was there to see it. Then everything shattered. July 23, 1993, Michael's father James was driving home late at night. He pulled over to rest in his car. 2 strangers attacked him. They killed him. Just like that, the man who had been Michael's anchor, his guide, his best friend, was gone. When Michael got the phone call, he collapsed. The world stopped making sense. His mother's voice on the other end of the line was shaking. The brightest star in basketball had just lost the light that guided him his entire life. The days after were a blur. Michael moved through them like a ghost. He kept remembering his father's voice, his father's laugh, the way he used to tell him that setbacks were teachers. At the funeral, Michael stood beside the casket and his shoulders shook, not with the strength that won championships, but with grief so deep it brought everyone around him to tears. His father wasn't just a fan, he was the foundation of everything Michael had built. And now that foundation was gone. By October 1993, just months after winning his 3rd championship, Michael Jordan announced he was retiring from basketball. The world couldn't believe it. He was only 30 years old. He was at the peak of his career, but basketball didn't make sense anymore without his father there to watch. So Michael walked away. And then, he did something even stranger. He started playing baseball. Minor league baseball. A sport he hadn't played since he was a kid. People laughed at him. Critics said he was crazy. But Michael didn't care what they thought. His father had always wanted to see him play professional baseball. So Michael put on a baseball uniform, number 45, and played in small stadiums for the Birmingham Barons. He woke up before dawn. His hands got blisters from swinging the bat. The bus rides were long. The hotels were cheap. But every swing he took felt like a prayer for his father. Every game he played was a way to honor the man he lost. Grief is a long road and healing doesn't happen quickly. For 17 months, Michael played baseball and tried to figure out who he was without basketball, without his father, without the roar of the crowd. And slowly, something started to shift inside him. He began to understand what his father had always seen in him. Not just a basketball player, but a man who could rise again even after being broken. On March 18, 1995, Michael sent two words out into the world that shook the entire planet. "I'm back." He was returning to the NBA. The king was coming home, but coming back wasn't easy. He was 32 years old now. He hadn't played competitive basketball in almost 2 years. His timing was off. His body felt different. The first few weeks were rough, but Michael didn't quit. He stayed late after